Hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt. And I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, God damn it, woof, 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 woof. Hi, I said hi. To all my YouTubers out there, if you like what you hear, and if you like what you see, just click the subscribe button at the bottoms of your screens. I said click it, click it, click it, click it. I loves to click it. And hi, God needs some love. So give me some LUV love by doing that like thing. Give me some likes. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, this epi of Wyatt shines a spotlight on Carter Brown. He's the founder and the national director of Black Transmen Incorporated. And Mr. Brown is going to share his journey as a trans individual, the importance of Black Transmen Incorporated, and so much more. So you ready? Because Carter and I am, so let's get it going. So without further ado, Wyatt, I said Wyatt, has the distinct pleasure of welcoming Carter Brown. He's the founder and national director of Black Transmen Incorporated, the first national nonprofit organization founded for the empowerment, advocacy, and equality of Black trans men. So all I can say is talk at me. How the hell are ya?
I'm doing great, Wyatt. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Listen, man, thank you so much for stopping by, Wyatt. First off, I have to do this. Let me tell you something. You know, man, look, when I do that, that makes me feel so much better. It's like it just releases everything, you know, and gives me even more energy. So what I want to ask, what I want to say to you, my brother, is that you are the epitome of a profile in courage, and we're going to get into all of that later. However, now here's a warning. Don't go breaking your hand, patting yourself on the back. I got you speechless there for a second, didn't I? Got you speechless. Okay, well, look. Let's get serious here. Now, you founded Black Transmen Incorporated in 2011. And right. In 25 words or less, because we're going to talk about the mission and really dig deep into the organization later, but in 25 words or less, what is Black Transmen Incorporated?
25 words or less. Black Transmen Inc. Incorporated is community, it's safety, it's visibility, it's reflections, it is evolution of manhood, it is care, guidance. How many words we at now? I can keep going.
I'll give you 10 more. Give me 10 more. 10 more.
Okay. Yeah. BTMI is the evolution of manhood in excluding gender bias and gender norms. It's including feminist perspectives in manhood. It is freedom from toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And it is leadership in the movement for Black equity.
You know, that's like 50 words, but I'm gonna let you slide.
I warned you I could go, man.
I know. Yeah. I mean, man, that's like 50, 60, 70, but I'm gonna let you go. Okay. According to your organization's website, and I quote, Brown, meaning you, was compelled to help birth and build the organization Black Transmen Incorporated from the support and information he saw lacking in his own trans experience versus that of other ethnicities and of the LGBTQ community. It is a known and statistical fact that societal challenges for an African American male exist. It is also well known that negative stereotypes of Black men have overhung stagnantly for generations. Brown wants to make his contribution to ending the cycle and diminishing the stereotypes by exposing the world to another face of the Black man, end quote. Let's unpack that. I mean, that is really profound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unpack that. So I can say from my own journey or experience, when we talk about what actually compelled me to start this organization with this intent and this mission, is, I can say that when I began my transition or journey into self-development, I knew, and I say my journey into self-development because I knew well before my transition that I identified more with maleness.
Got it.
And so that is what pretty much compelled me to start my transition, is I just didn't feel that, the gender identity of female was taking for me.
Right.
And I wanted to grow up. I'd been a tomboy, I'd been a stud lesbian and all this, and I just couldn't find my fitting or my community or myself in that. At that phase of my life, I felt that my development was sort of stunted. And so that's why I started exploring even transitioning into my full maleness. And so even with that, once I transitioned, Wyatt, I had no idea what it meant to be a Black man. I knew that I was male, in my spirit and in my gender identity, but I had no idea what it meant to be a Black man in America.
Right.
And what I'm talking about, brother, I'm sure you can identify as just the day-to-day experiences, whether it's an interaction with the police, if it's an interaction at the store, even if it's an interaction with a sister on the street. It was very different from my experiences prior to, being received as male in full society, or better yet, a Black male.
Right.
And that was a very eye-opening experience for me. And although these were new experiences, I still had the underlying reality that I was a trans man. And so I wasn't sure how to navigate this dual identity that I had. On one end, I had lots of, friends or other males that I could talk to about things that Black males are dealing with. But I had no one to talk to about things that a trans man deals with. And even in my conversation with my Black male counterparts, it was a limited conversation because my experience isn't exactly like yours. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so just really wanting to find another trans man who's having a Black man experience was so important for me, for my own development and even just being able to navigate life. And this was a period that was pre, internet for the most part. So there wasn't the accessibility of just logging in something on my phone and doing a Google search for help me find other Black trans people. So I lived a life of what they call stealth, or we'll say stealth, meaning that you transition and then you just don't disclose to anybody that you're trans. So for example, once I was able to transition and change my name, I changed my job, I changed the city where I lived in, and I just, pretty much began my life as Carter without ever disclosing how I became Carter. You know what I mean? And it was great. Wyatt, it was great. I was just living my life as myself. I didn't have those insecurities of people, will they know? Are they going to question if I'm a man or a woman? Or, how do they feel about gay things? None of this was displayed just in my everyday expression or how I carried myself, because now I was just received as a black male. That
Mm.
offered me a freedom that I hadn't had before, and it was great. But as they say, your past is never too far behind, right?
Yeah.
And so I was I was living successfully, by my standards, meaning that I was able to secure a great job. My wife and I, we were able to buy a home, start our family, um, and all these things that are the aspirations of most people. Um,
Uh, you know what? I don't mean to cut you off. I'm going to stop you there because I know where you're going. And I want to
okay,
save that for a little bit later. You answered
gotcha.
my question beautifully, my brother. that
Awesome.
was
Okay.
that was good. Okay. This is the part of my show that I really like because we at Wyatt are very nosy. We like to know your backstory. So let's take us back through the quarters of time so we can find out your beginnings. So, first of all, where were you born and raised?
Oh wow. I was born in Texarkana, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And yeah.
Oh,
And we
wow.
moved
Okay.
yeah, born in Texarkana, Texas in the mid 70s. The
Okay.
population then was probably maybe 15, 20,000 people in that little city.
Yeah.
Um, and I was born the youngest of three to young, poor, single mother.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I can say, although we didn't have much, I grew up with a lot of love. Even through my mom's, as an adult, you can reflect on um, your parent and look at them from an adult perspective versus a parent.
Right.
And, just looking at when my mom, um, as an adult, she really had quite a few challenges. But she was able to, dig through her own trauma and really offer a lot of love and encouragement um, for all of us. And I really give a lot of credit to her just for instilling the confidence that I was able to have in the environment that I was growing up in. Again, we're talking about growing up in the South in the 70s. I was a, chubby, dark skinned tomboy, very active. So I learned at a very early age about discrimination, discrimination around my
Mm.
gender expression, discrimination around my race, even colorism, other black
Yeah.
people because I was a dark skinned
Yep.
kid, you know,
Yep.
my size,
Hmm.
all of these things. So I learned things about me that weren't acceptable at a very early age. And these are the things that also, my mom would cater to and tell me that why these things made me different but stronger, more beautiful,
Mm.
and really be able to see the value in myself even when others couldn't see it. And I believe just my own experiences um, are what really propelled me into being the advocate that I am today. Because I see
Uh-huh.
myself and other people with similar experiences, and black people and trans people, people who are ostracized from society, all of us who are dealing with systemic discrimination um, in this sub community of black trans and non-binary people. This is the fabric of who I am. So it's only right that I grew into being an advocate for this community as well.
Question for you. As a little kid, give us three characteristics that would best describe you.
Ah, playful, um, creative,
Hmm.
and active. Very active.
Okay, I think that yeah, that suits you. Okay, I like to ask that
I was the
question.
kid that all the adults said, "Sit down somewhere."
I like to ask that question because it gives us a window into who you are and what you're all about as an adult. So thank you for that. Question for you. Now, I did my research. and I read that you had a challenging childhood. Can you tell us more
Mhm,
about that? And how has that shaped you into the individual that you are today?
mhm, mhm. Well, as I stated, why just growing up, before I even had a consciousness that I'm in a challenging situation,
Hmm.
that was my experience. Um, and then later in life, I would say in my early teens, just the family hardship, I ended up on my own, um,
Hmm.
homeless, and you know, for that period of time, there was a lot of I was lost. I had no connections to family. I had no connections to friends. I had no connections anywhere in the world, or so it felt. It was a very lonely place. So that I feel now that that time really curated a moment for me to go
Hmm.
within and dig and find who I really am, without any of these things that I had depended on, as a child or during my childhood to sort of develop, or influence who I was or tell me who I was.
Hmm.
Um, and it also gave me, just having the reality of dealing with life, full blown at that age, opened my eyes to
Absolutely.
a lot. Not it opened my eyes to a lot, not just to become more streetwise, but also to the powers that be and what actually keeps people down, or why I'm not able to access certain resources, or why I'm not able to navigate certain systems, um, because of my intersecting identities, etc. Um, and so I keep going into my advocacy, but yeah, so that was a very challenging time for me, um, as a kid, and just growing into young adult development is when I really began to explore my sexuality and my gender identity,
Hmm.
and that too, I found myself on the outside, to in the 80s, 90s to identify
Yeah.
as gay or something, then I'm on the outside.
Yeah.
So it's always been, for me, a challenge of finding community, of finding where I belong, of not feeling like a misfit. And I feel that now that I have come to complete, um, come full circle with my identity, or in search of my identity as a trans man and the type of man that I am and continue to become. Um, I feel that I have found my wholeness, and with that, I've found community, and with that, I've found purpose on advocating for this community. So all of those things, again, are just the fabric of what make me the man that I am today.
Well, you know what? I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but again, like I said early in the show, you are a profile in courage because very few of us, Carter, have the balls, the cojones, whatever you want to, the guts to really be their authentic self. You know, a lot of people will not do it. They don't have the, that intestinal fortitude or whatever you want to call it to really do it. And
Mhm.
it's impressive. It really is impressive. Um, so yeah, I definitely have to say that.
Well, thanks
Um,
for saying that, Wyatt. And again, I feel like that's a part of my position and my role is to help people who can't. I can be an example. I want to be that model of possibilities, for people like me who feel that they are stuck in a place where they can't connect with themselves or with their community, or just be boldly and proudly. I want to be that possibility model. I want to be that safe haven they can come to and build them up, until they can get there. Help them crawl until they can walk. That's what BTAC is.
mhm. Got it. Carter, earlier in the show, you were beginning to tell us about your whole experience with discrimination, and I wanted to
Mhm.
save it to now. So, would you please tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess the pivotal moment of discrimination. It wasn't the only moment of discrimination, but the one that definitely changed the trajectory of my life.
Mm,
Um, I was working in corporate America. I've worked in corporate America for a couple dozen years.
right.
Um, and once I transitioned, I started with a new company, a Fortune 500 company, and I was working there for a, a while. I would say about 4 years.
Hmm.
And it was incredible, Wyatt. I mean, this was the first job that I started where I was just Carter. There was no,
Right. Right.
gay girl that looks like a guy or, the one that used to be something else. I was just Carter. Nothing preceded me but my work ethic, my morale. I could be credited with these things unfiltered, and that was great because I take pride in my work. I won't ramble wide, I promise. So anyway, with the
You're okay.
discrimination,
You're okay.
um, so with this job, I'm working there for a while, and it was great. I'm excelling as a top producer. I'm getting along great with all of my teammates and colleagues. I received 3 promotions in like 2 years. I was being recognized for my work, and that felt great because there were many experiences prior that I'd been looked over. You know,
Hmm.
um, because I felt because I was either black or gay or something that just didn't fit the mold for corporate America at that time. They weren't into
Right.
diversity and inclusion as much as they say they are now.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Hmm.
and so,
Yeah.
anyway, I was doing well at this job and excelling professionally, personally. And then, one day I go into work and a couple of my colleagues shoot me an email and just say, hey, can we talk to you for a second? And I'm thinking, okay, sure, but I'm a little thrown off. I mean, it's an average day, but we don't usually
An,
just start the day,
an,
with
another promotion, maybe.
right. And so I step away and, I'm a little hesitant or
Right.
cautious because of their energy and the looks of their face was very serious. So I followed them, and it was 3 colleagues, and they pulled me
Uh-uh.
into one of the meeting rooms. And one of them says, you know, and I'm like, so what's up? And they're like, well, I'm just gonna come out with it. We heard that you were a woman, and we want to know if it's true. And another one said, well, actually, we heard that you have, referring to my private parts.
Oh, no.
And so, yeah, Wyatt,
Oh, man.
man, in hindsight, I wish I'd have had a more dignified response. But as you can
Yo.
imagine, I was totally off guard. I felt ambushed. I was angry. I was embarrassed. I was
Hmm.
belittled. I was a multitude of emotions at once that I totally didn't expect. Um, but I can say most prominently, I remember the feeling of having to decide in that moment if I would confirm or deny who I really was.
Mm,
Because for so long I'd been, living this sort of private life,
absolutely.
even though it was, my life and I felt that I was living it publicly because, I've transitioned. Um, so in that moment, why that I would say that was the moment that changed the trajectory of my life because I decided then I would no longer deny who I was to anyone or to myself mostly. I think I got lost in transition in those early years of trying to find comfortability in assimilating assimilating.
Mm,
When I'm
hmm.
seen as a average black male, I need to assimilate as an average black male. I need to suppress any sort of feminine characteristics that I have or mannerisms or, et cetera. And I was always conscious of that in a way.
Hmm.
Um, and so, just in reflecting on the reason that I transitioned was to liberate myself. And here I am back closeted and suppressing, who I really am and how I really
Uh,
feel because I
right.
want the approval of these people. I want to assimilate to how they want me to be. So, in
Mm,
that moment, Wyatt, is when I said, no, this is who I am. And if anyone has a problem with it, then that's your problem. But I'm going to live freely and I'm going to live authentically, and that changed the course of my life. Eventually I was fired from the job
damn.
because I was trans. And the state of Texas is an at-will state, so I had no sort of
Hmm.
recourse or
I was going to
protections.
ask you about that.
They,
Yeah.
yeah, so all they had to say was we're downsizing in the department, and I was the first to go. Um, and there was no, justification I could give or anything like that, other than, this is my opinion and speculation of what happened to me.
Right.
But I knew that that affected me in a way that I couldn't continue to let happen in my life. Like I was so thrown off of what to do next, so insecure of should I look for another job or will the same thing happen? You know, um,
Mm.
well, should I just go back, in the closet and find a little job, a job that's going to pay me less, where I could be more in a private life, trying to negotiate my whole life, for how I can minimize myself versus
Hmm.
how I can live openly and freely and out loud, and my choice was the
Hmm.
latter. Um, and so that's how I became, it came to be in the position that I am today, Wyatt, as an advocate for Black, trans, and non-binary people in employment discrimination, housing discrimination, and any
Hmm.
socioeconomic injustices. We cannot have that. Everyone deserves an opportunity, to pursue whatever career they want, um, whatever avenue that they want for their own livelihood, and be judged on the merit of their work ethic, be judged on the merit of their character, and not, their gender identity or their sexuality, and that's, it sounds cliche because we're used to hearing that in the fight
Hmm.
for equity, but this is my life mission. It's more than just a concept or a thought towards the fight for equality. This is my life, that I'm fighting for, and those of others. So,
Mm. You put that, Carter, so eloquently, and I really want to thank you for that. Yeah, that was profound. Um, let's really dig deep into Black Transmen Incorporated. Carter, what is the organization's vision, mission, goals, purposes?
well, Black Transmen Inc., that we started in 2011, the original vision for this organization was to create a safe space for trans men to have community and to become better advocates for
Mm,
awareness and visibility of trans male identity. In
okay.
2011, that's what we needed to do. Since then, the organization has birthed so many other organizations and programs. The most prominent is the Black Trans Advocacy Coalition,
Mm,
um, or BTAC. And
okay.
so uh, this is our national organization, and BTM, or Black Transmen Inc., is now pretty much a part of that coalition.
Hmm.
And so the vision overall for BTAC, or the conference, is to help build leaders and advocates in the movement, as well as continue to be advocates for socioeconomic injustices. We have year-round programs that aid Black, trans, and non-binary people in everything from health resources to employment resources, and of course, housing. Our biggest program is our national conference, which I'd
Right.
love to expand and tell you about a little later.
Okay. Definitely. You read my mind, by the way.
Yeah, I knew we were about to cover it.
No, no, me, no, 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 no. But I was going to ask you about that. Um, what I want to talk a little bit about is stigma. Um, I am an intimate partner violence and abuse survivor, subject matter expert, advocate, speaker, and I liken stigma to like this albatross wrapped around your neck, choking you to death. And stigma is
Exactly.
so responsible for incidences of intimate partner violence and abuse. The acronym is IPVA for being
Mhm.
so dramatically underreported. So, having said that, how does stigma uh, relate, impact, um, you know, the black trans man or black
Mhm.
trans
Mhm.
or trans people in general?
Mhm. Mhm. Great question. I can say for Black trans men specifically,
Uh-huh.
um, stigma relates, I'm going to say twofold on both sides of the gender variance. So a lot of trans men are victims of domestic violence or intimate partner relationships that are violent, and they suppress that because just as men, you know, who's going to believe you're a man, right? So who's going to
Right.
believe that you're being abused? So trans men go through this, and then it's more so with their partners all the same. You want to be a man, right? So then
Mhm.
you can't take this. You know, they're suffering in that way, and then also there is no, for the most part, the resources for seeking help when you are a victim of domestic violence, those are more limited for trans men because there's no place at the women's shelter. Those women
Absolutely.
are going to be traumatized to see someone who appears male to come in there and want to sleep in the same place and etc. And then there's no place for them to be serviced in their male identity
Mhm.
because it's not quite the same and we can't. You know what I mean?
I do.
So, just that stigma, again, pushes trans men further in the margin. And then overall, I would say just all of the stigmas that come with being a black man, all of the negative connotations and stereotypes that come with being a black man are projected towards trans men for the most part as well from our overall
Mhm.
society. And then even within the LGBTQ or the trans community, if we want to narrow it on down, there's stigma because, again, the trans men are the evolution of man, in my opinion,
Sure.
in that we aren't limited to what gender norms of what masculinity should be. With that being said, a lot of trans men do still want to bear their own children.
Mhm.
Within the trans community and the LGBTQ, that is often frowned, or people say negative things about trans men, like, well, if you're a man, why would you? Well, they're still going to use the body that they have to live the life that they want, right? But this is
Right.
a stigma also that, as a male, you shouldn't be bearing your own child per se.
Uh-huh.
So there's a multitude of stigmas with the complexity of trans male identity, um, but those are just a couple of examples that I think many of us can probably relate to easily.
Mhm. Absolutely. I'm curious about this. Are black trans men and black trans women pitted against one another?
Absolutely not. No, I don't
Good.
think that they're pitted against each other in every forum or environment that I'm in, among other advocates and just community members. We're always having conversations about how we can become a greater collective, how we can start educating ourselves within our communities more about each other's experiences to become greater advocates. If there's a sister who has something going on that she thinks it would be important to have a trans male voice there, she's going to invite me, or she's going to ask, is there someone else who could come so that we're all represented? So absolutely not. I mean, the black trans movement, I could say in a lot of ways can be an example for many other movements of minorities and marginalized groups in our efforts to build a collective and really work together to create change.
Awesome. Okay, now that's really good to hear. Now, let us delve into the National Black Trans Advocacy Conference.
All right.
Okay, why is this event so important for so many people? And just give us all of the details about the conference.
Okay, sure. So, BTAC or the Black Trans Advocacy Conference is a 5 day event. It
Wow.
happens here in Dallas every year. April 23rd through the 28th is always the last week in April. Within those 5 days, we offer everything from, as a typical conference, there's a series of workshops and plenaries that offer information and knowledge that is specific to the attendees, which we center Black and trans people as well as non
Mhm.
binary. And at night, we have night events for entertainment, just to give people, it's the psychology of play. So we try to
Mhm.
incorporate fun in the program as well. But I can say that BTAC isn't just a conference. BTAC is a lifeline. It's a sanctuary. It's a beacon of hope
Mhm.
for so many Black, trans, and non-binary individuals. Again, because we often face so much isolation and
Right.
discrimination, this is the place we can come and leave all that behind. Um, and it's more than just a gathering for the information and the networking. It really is a transformative experience. And it's not only changing lives, it's saving lives every day
Mm.
and every year that we host this conference. Um, you know, for those people who don't have community or have a home, figuratively speaking, BTAC is family. This is where they can come and find family. They may come as a first timer and they leave with, you know, uncles and aunts or, a dad or somebody that they've adopted to now be
Oh man.
family. I mean, I can go on. I mean, BTAC, it's safety, it's a refill, it's joy, it's freedom. BTAC is church, you know, and the origin of BTAC overall is we wanted to create a safe space where we could all come together and convene, and authentically be ourselves, and be surrounded
Mhm.
by love, understanding, and support. So, when you boil down all of the activities and information, this is the foundation of what BTAC is. It's a place people can come and be safe, be themselves, be surrounded by love and support.
I have two words for it: refuge and oasis.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Know that
Mhm.
I'll be using that.
Listen,
That's spot
listen.
on.
Look now, look. When we get out of here, we'll talk about payment.
Just send me a bill.
Now, you may not like you may not like how much that bill is going to be, but I'll send it to you. I'm messing with you, man.
Yeah.
Okay, now moving back to YOU, my friend. Why do you believe you were called to be a leader in the movement for Black trans rights? And you've already said some of it, but tell us more.
Mhm. Um, you know, again, just my early experiences really did shape my understanding of systemic injustices at an early age. And that's
Mm.
what fuels my passion for advocacy, fighting for my own rights. And then, those who share these experiences and share my identities. And my commitment is just to be a to use my voice as a platform
Mhm.
to fight equity. I mean, to fight for justice and equity, um, for all, and primarily for people who share my experiences.
Great. Okay. Okay. Well said. Well said. So let me ask you the old, tired and true, cliched question, which is this: where do you want Black Trans Men Incorporated to be in, say, the next 5 years? What major things do you want to have accomplished, within that time frame?
Mm. Within the next 5 years, I would like to see Black Trans Men Inc. Take an even stronger role in leadership in the movement.
Mm-hmm.
I would like for us to be fruitful in creating more mentoring relationships among Black men and Black trans men.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see new leadership coming. As we are now seeing more and more visibility of trans kids, I need to see more Black trans kids.
Oh,
I need to
wow.
see
Okay.
the Generation X of Black trans men step into their place, into leadership and really taking a stance for our communities of Black people and of trans people. This is what I want to see. I want to see our leadership developed through mentorship, both professionally as well as personal mentorship. And I want to see us take a stronger leadership role in the movement.
Wonderful. Okay. Give us the name of the conference, the dates, and the location, and all of that good stuff once again, please.
Yes, the conference. The National Black Trans Advocacy Conference will be April 23rd through the 28th here in Dallas, Texas. You can find out more information by logging on to our website, blacktrans.org, or you can find us on any of our social media handles at Black Trans Advocacy.
You are perfect, because I was going to ask you, give us all of your social media, but you had it down. Boom, 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 boom. I love it. Oh, man. Carter Brown, man, listen, it has been a pleasure for you to stop by Wyatt, and you have an open invitation to come back anytime you want.
I sure appreciate it, brother. I've had a splendid time talking to you. Thank you again for the invitation. And I would love to come back after the conference, tell you all
Yeah,
about it. How's that?
that sounds like a winner to me.
Awesome.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, so y'all, there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at WyattEvans.com, the go-to destination for LGBTQ plus news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, hey, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you'll find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And as you just saw on the top, the newest installment is called Shattered. I said Shattered. And y'all, Shattered is full of action, danger, intrigue, sexually charged situations, passion, and all of the wonderful elements that you're used to in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. So get your new copy of Shattered. Now you can follow me, your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, all across social media, and poof is right there for you to peruse, like TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any comments or whatever, you can hit me up at wyattonair@gmail.com. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. I said woof.